Alright, Black Templars fans as well as JoyToy action figure enjoyers, welcome on in. This is your channel master, Screws and Studs, and I'll have to say that I was going through the catalog of the action figures that I have, and I stumbled upon something that I did not have, but I actually wanted to get, which is the Primaris Black Templars Crusader squad. So in this action figure review, we are going to be taking a look at two Battle Brothers and see what I have missed. Let's review this first Black Templar. So looking at the helmet area, there are light highlights at the top of it that actually resembles a little bit of frosting on the edges of the helmet as well as the armor panels over here. The gunmetal studs adds texture to an otherwise smooth and silky helmet. Further gunmetal fixings right here break up the black expanse of the helmet, and I will apologize when I say that I am back to lamenting that these lenses are a dull, lifeless flat red instead of the red metallic ones that are bursting with tasty flavor in more modern Space Marines. The pauldrons are the same on both sides. Both of them sport a skull in the center of it. There is also the presence of dry brush highlights on top of this black cross. There's this interesting gradual transition from a weathered white to a cleaner white at the center, which effect seems to give like a soft glow, and then rounding out the pauldrons, it is affixed with a plastic loop. So with regards to the arms, there is light frosting on the edge of the armor joints, especially here, that add a bit of character to an otherwise boring, elongated sausage. There are more gunmetal studs here for more added texture. And then migrating to the hands, this is definitely a V2 action figure. It's super not flexible, almost if the Marine has arthritis. With regards to the chest, it is dominated by a gold skull with very vast wingspan. These wings have a good deal of shading in between the feathers to make up for the otherwise plain area so that it can jump out more. The nice thing is that there is a good amount of shading compared to the later Marines that have been manufactured. Now the waist area is dominated by a very heavily shaded tabard. There is black shading in the darkest recesses and these tan highlights in the more shallow areas. The contrasting flavors add to the potency of this 3D effect, and I am really loving it. Also, there is this complicated looking leather belt that is linked together with these metal rings and buckles. Once again, this is definitely a version 2 because of the extensive highlighting right here that is not present on the more recent figures. I really miss this effect in all honesty, even though this is a bit messy looking. There is a Black Templars purity seal right here on one side with writing etched into the plastic, and then on the other side there is a piece of armor that has a heraldic shield screened onto it. The legs traditionally is the weakest area on an MK10 Marine because it is unadorned with anything except these gunmetal studs around the knee area. The frosting or highlighting is very prominent and very noticeable in this section, especially in the back. All right, with regards to the backpack, there really isn't anything here to see. As with most MK10 armors, there's a nice usage of gunmetal, black, and frosted armor ends. So looking at the chainsword, this is the one for the Black Templar. The blade is clearly red, unlike most other chainswords which are black. But this is the exception because this came off of the Death Company Blood Angels. So they have the same gunmetal teeth right here. However, the hilt is completely different in that there's a large crossguard here, which matches the aesthetics of a Black Templar, whereas most chainswords do not, as evidenced by this chainsword right here, which is in line with most, if not all, of the chainswords. But perhaps this chainsword is a little bit too red. Maybe this area should have been black to add more variation in color. I am really liking the option of choosing close combat versus range fighting on these older action figures. There is clearly 3 different colors on this plasma pistol with thick coats of shading that are especially in the recesses and in the vents. It is highly detailed. However, I lament the fact that the blue coils aren't metallic because the metallic would definitely make these plasma coils pop. With regards to the bolt rifle, again, there's a varied usage in color with this gold wing skull, the shaded red body, the weathered gunmetal accessories, which serve to catch one's attention. There's a highlighted soft plastic loop that allows the Marine to shoulder the rifle while wielding close combat weapons. So I really love the features that allow customization. And then with regards to the Chains of Devotion, the soft plastic appears to be a base color of black that has been highlighted up a gunmetal color. At closer glance, this chain appears to be darker than the other, but that's just an aesthetic detail. This loop is for the plasma pistol, and then this one is for the chainsword. You know, just in case if the Marine decides to be forgetful and leave them on the battlefield. Now, as there are more similarities than differences on this second Black Templar, I'm actually going to focus on those differences. It would appear that the helmet is completely the same, and then looking at the pauldrons, there is a minor difference in the Black Templar icon. This one does not sport a skull at the center of it, and it is also the case on the other side. The chest area has gunmetal studs, whereas the other Marine does not. Instead of a winged skull, this one is rocking a winged shield. And again, I am really digging the heavy shading that's going on here. The tabard and waist area is clearly the same. The construction of the belt dangling with the pouch is an exact mirror image. Instead of the Black Templar icon at the top, this one actually has a shield. The other armor plate on the side is bland and unsalted, but has some light seasoning by the way of these tiny studs and this frosting. But regardless, the rest of the Marine is the same. All other accessories are almost the same, including the chainsword up here, the plasma pistol, the bolt rifle, and the backpack. The chains of devotion that bind the plasma pistol is also the same. However, the one for the chainsword is quite a bit less girthy with this smaller loop over here. Perhaps the Marine could not handle the weight of this heavier cuff. I have absolutely no idea. And so the last thing I wanted to do is a very quick size comparison between this older action figure versus the newer Stern Guard veteran, just to see if there's any size difference. And it would appear that there is absolutely no height difference between the Space Marines, which is probably a relief to some people who are taking a look at this. And so with the size comparison done, it is time to wrap up this video. All right, Black Templars fans, let me know what you think about these two action figures in the comment section below, and I'll let you know what I think about them right now. So as these are actually pretty old action figures, I would have to say that it's nice to mentally compare these old action figures to the new action figures that have been recently released and see how much progression JoyToy has made over time. I'll have to say that I do not miss these hands. These hands are very stiff and hard to get the weapons into without the aid of warm water. One big thing that I do miss about these action figures is the ability to customize them. So you can turn them into an assault type of action figure with the plasma gun and the chainsword combination, or you can turn them into a long range configuration with just the wielding of the bolt rifle. So obviously, if you are a Black Templars fan and you want to fill out the ranks of your army, obviously these guys are going to be a must-buy for you. Now, I'm not too sure what the secondary market is on these action figures, just because they were released quite a while ago and it's very hard to find these action figures right now. But if you happen to, you're not going to go wrong with scooping one up. And with that being said, members of the chapter, thank you so much for tuning in to these action figure reviews. I am very thankful for all the views and all the devotion that you've been giving to this channel. As I've said before, this channel has experienced a massive surge in popularity and viewership, and I'm thankful for each and every single one of you for that. And I thank you once again. I'll see you all in the next one.